Brilliance as always, excellent in delivery, the OG of photography. What more do I say? The creative genius himself. Kelechi AmadiObi, those are his works, and he's right here with us. Ever smiling, ever happy. Good to have you in the studio, sir.
You know, I joked earlier that your gray is full of photographic wisdom.
It's so good to have you.
So where's your camera?
Same here. What can I say, you know? For me, it's all about just looking and seeing and perceiving, you know? So the first camera is your eye. You know, that you used to see. But the best camera you have is the one that's with you, actually.
You know, one of the reasons I always celebrate people like you is because when things were not as enterprising, economically viable, is when some of you people started. At those times, if you wake up and say you want to be a photographer, people will be looking at you. Are you really normal? Your parents will be. So how do you navigate all of this? How did you, what kind of belief system did you inculcate as a young person to hold on to say, one day this thing is going to be so big that if anyone says I am a photographer, the parents will respect it?
Well, I believe at the core of our personality as human beings is, you know, the memories that we have, you know, based on our experience. But then there are also things that we believe based on perception and stories that we are told. And I believe that photography and, you know, visual art generally is at the center of generating these perceptions that at the end of the day form who we are. And right from childhood, I had understood the power of storytelling. You know, I was obsessed with, you know, comics. I used to read a lot of comics. And I started to understand the power of storytelling. And right from the beginning, I'd never had a doubt on the significance, you know, of storytelling, you know, for social engineering. I think it is about the most powerful thing, really, you know, in deciding how a society moves forward. It's the stories that they're told. And yes, those early days, I think the photography hadn't acquired the kind of, I think, respect that it has now. But I knew in the power of the imagery, you know.
And that's so profound. We just hosted a young photographer last week who's using photography to document the history in the Northeast. But let's go back to you. One of the unique things about you is your ability to think outside the box and create a theme around your subjects. And, you know, we could refer to some work you did some years back with the iconic Ikoyi Bridge with some beauty queens. Do you get that feedback from your clients that, you know, are like, we just want the the photographs taking. We don't want to take it away from what we have as a budget, but yet you're able to give them, you know, something different, totally unexpected from what they were, what they had initially envisioned for the project. Do you get that feedback?
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, really, it's every photo shoot is a unique narrative related to a particular individual or people. And what we do as, you know, creatives is to take you on that journey. It's a collaboration. I believe that every click that you make, every photograph you make, you're making history. And while the client may have their concept and their idea, when they come to me, they are coming to me because also I have what they call the artist's eye, the photographic eye, the creator's eye. And that is a function of my ability to decipher reality based on my own perception. And that is the artistry that is involved in it. And that, if I am true to myself, I will always bring out my own perspective. And if I join it with the story the client wants to tell, we will start to make magic, you know? And what can I say? The value of what you bring is really related to how special and unique.
And does it increase their budget?
Well, you see, what I found out is this. Money will always follow value. The question is, do we produce value for them? Are we solving a problem? Are we selling their product? Are we selling their story? Are we bringing out those emotions that we want to evoke through the storytelling? And how much you're paid is a function of how much value that you bring to the table.
And that's why you photograph the likes of Omotola, you photograph Chidinma, the big stars. So can we afford you?
Everybody can afford it.
Really?
Really. You know, affordability is a very relative thing. But, you know, when you start mentioning Omotola, Chidinma, and all these people, you find that it's at the core of what I stand for in my creativity. You see, yeah, while we're making beautiful pictures and all that, but there is an underlying, principle for me. It's that we need to open the eyes of our people to the beauty that is right in front of them, to the treasures that lie within. You know, I believe that through visual arts, we can liberate our people. Because I see there is this suffocating pessimism that prevents our people from seeing what is right in front of them. You know, I would take my camera, go up on one of these skyscrapers, wait for the right moment, and take a photograph of Lagos. Bring it and show people, and they say, "Is this Lagos?" I say, "But you pass through here every day." I don't know if you understand.
You have the patience to wait.
Yes, it is the same thing. You understand? You know, you can be seeing it, but yet you're blind to its beauty. And until we start to realize that we live in abundance, but sometimes you're blind to it. Why? Because we see through our minds. It is our perception of what we see that decides how we see it, you know. And sometimes a good photograph, you know, sort of removes those prejudices and makes you just look at it and say, this is where I live, or this is who I am. It's like a picture of you, and you say, but yes, I think I'm beautiful, I think I'm strong, I think I'm powerful. And that, for me, is what I think is not so obvious about Africa. There seems to be a strong energy of pessimism. Right. Yeah.
You know, we can talk a lot about your work, but let's talk about your person. Who is the typical Kelechi AmadiObi? Well, for me, when I remember Kelechi AmadiObi, I just remember the gray-haired, bearded, ever-smiling guy. That is what we see. But who is the typical you?
Well, Kelechi AmadiObi is, what can I say? Is a guy obsessed with his passion, you know, but at the same time in search of new things. I want to remain curious. It's a journey. There is no arrival. The process itself is, for me, the life. You know, and yes, I'm a smiler. It's my philosophy that I think our time on this earth is too short to bother yourself with any kind of sadness. Yes, it will come. I mean, we'll have our down moments, but for me, it's gratitude. That one wakes up in the morning and you're breathing well and you can, I'm grateful to be alive and to be able to do what I love and get paid for it. It's unbelievable. It's wonderful. So it's a lot to smile about.
Are there clients you've worked with that you feel like, oh my God? Because I see you as a perfectionist. So when you get on set, who is the problem? Are you the problem? Who is the perfectionist? Or the clients who is really, so confession time, who is actually the problem on set?
No, there is. You see, that is the thing. You know, it's life, really. You know, a photo shoot is a production, really. Much like making a film. You know, life is a combination of design and accidents. You make your plan and things happen and come in your way. The question is, how do you react to them? Okay, you have imagined this all awesome shoot you're going to make, and then the client says, no, I don't like it, I want you to go in this direction. You know, you have to find a way to navigate. Or you go on location, you want to do this epic shoot and it starts to rain. How do you navigate, you know, some of these things? So it's a metaphor for life, really. We make our plans, we get on location, we try to create what we want to create, and accidents start to happen. And then that then becomes the magic. It is those disruptions that lead you to unique creations. And people ask, so, but I say we are in search of failure. We put ourselves in situations that are not normal. That is where you discover what you've never done before. You know, so it's adversity, and what do? We embrace it.
Interesting. I didn't know about that.
But perfection itself is a utopia. You can never achieve that. You can only try to be better than yourself yourself yesterday, so that today you're a little better. You know, and once you can achieve that, for me, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it resonates with what we say in journalism: we're only as good as our last effort.
Exactly.
So, talk to us about filmmaking as well. I know that you don't do just photography. So, for you, which trumps the other in terms of being able to capture the moment and tell the story at the same time, you know, document history?
Photography is, how do I say, you know, the foundation, you know, of, even for a filmmaker, you know, for you to be a good DP, you need to have studied, you know, in fact, a lot of photography. But film itself is huge. I don't know how to put it. It has so many different facets. You know, photography is like the still side of things. But film, you've got sound, you've got time, you've got motion graphics, you've got so many different facets. And each of those areas requires very serious high level of expertise. And the product that ends up coming out of it, if it is good, can be extremely compelling. I mean, I always tell people, you know, somebody would take himself, go to a cinema, pay, and sit down for 2 hours watching a film. I mean, that is a very powerful thing, and it demands all your senses. It's difficult for you to be watching a film and be driving. You can't do that, you know, or be having a conversation. You want to be subsumed in it. That is the power of cinematography. You know,
there's a lot to glean from you. I wish we had a lot more time, but I must ask you this question before we let you go. There was a time that photography, which you're an expert and a genius in, threatened drawing. I guess so. And now AI is threatening everything. How are you responding to AI?
Well, what can I say? You know, photography itself is born out of technology, and it is in a constant state of change. And I tell all my colleagues, I tell the young photographers, if you are not going to be a perpetual student, find something else to do, because the rules will keep changing. AI is here, good or bad. Do not ignore it. Understand it, study it, engage. And that is the only thing. The thing I always tell people is this: AI will not take your job. You know, is somebody who knows how to use AI that will take your job. You understand? But there is this thing that goes beyond. You see, whenever we look at a means of expression, photography itself is a means of expression. And I tell people, you know, the question is, what are you expressing? Beyond photography, you need to educate yourself. It is about self-development. It is about who you are, your personality, and your opinion that goes beyond what AI can replace.
Brilliant way to wrap up this conversation. Kelechi AmadiObi of the Kelechi AmadiObi Studios. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
The pleasure is mine.
We really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you.